we're having conversations that we had with guests without them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're super courageous. We're like, you remember when we had that one guest and he said that? Man, fuck that.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious. All of our episodes without a guest, we're just like, remember last week when someone said this?
Yeah. Maybe that will be our Patreon. Just talking shit about our guests. All right. Welcome to Waiting to Dry.
Oot oots.
The art podcast that's but the intros are spectacular. I am one of your co-hosts, the master of the YouTube backpedal, Sergio Lopez.
Nice. I'm Josh Lawyer.
And break out your Old English 800s because it is episode 40.
Hell yeah. What's your 40 of choice?
I think I've only ever had an Old English, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I've never been a 40 drinker, really.
I've had them all, I think.
Do you have a preference?
If it's just regular beer, I'll drink Budweiser.
Okay.
I'm a Budweiser guy. Like, that's my cheap beer of choice.
Okay.
And then if it's a malt liquor, I'll drink Mickey's.
Okay.
It's the bitchiest malt liquor there is. But yeah.
I'll throw in Miller High Life. I've had that before, actually, too. That's okay.
MGD. Yeah. That's a 32 ounce.
I've had a 40 version of it.
Is there a 40 High Life?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
At least there was at the time that I had it.
The High Life, that's life you live.
Yeah. You know it.
Nice. I remember I had a buddy and they were drinking Mickey's and I was judging them. And then like halfway through maybe like 1/3 through the Mickey's 40, they pulled out orange juice and they poured it in and they were like, man, that's the broke man's a Blue Moon. It actually wasn't that bad. But yeah.
I don't mind a broke man's Blue Moon.
So try it out, kids.
Yeah. Try it out. After you Google circle jerk.
If you're into Blue Moons, that is. Yeah. I made fun of the fact that they were trying to remake Blue Moons in general because it's not my beer of choice.
That was like my starter into like craftier kind of beers.
I think that was a lot of people's because for a while there, it was like there wasn't like all these craft beers are pretty new. Like they're not like
yeah, that's true.
They're a pretty big fad now, but you go back a little bit and they're not nowhere to be seen.
Oh yeah.
You go to a 7-Eleven now, you get like 20 different craft beers just in there in a 7-Eleven.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So and I think people started like veering, and Blue Moon is such like a candy beer. I tell everyone it tastes like Fruit Loop milk.
Yeah, and
everyone's like, no, it doesn't. And I'm like, drink it and try it. And they're like, oh yeah, it kind of does. I'm like, I know.
It's so sweet, for a beer.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's sickening. But yeah, I drank Blue Moon when it first came out. I'm not gonna lie, but now I taste it and it's disgusting.
Really? You can't even have one anymore?
I mean, I'll drink any beer, really.
Yeah. Speaking of which, how's your sober Inktober going?
I'm 12 days in.
Holding strong.
Holding strong. It's Friday. This is my second weekend, though. And the weekends are the tricky part. Like weekdays, I don't drink during the weekdays, so it's like, all right. Weekend, I'm like, oh, it's the weekend. So I'm like, when you posted it's the 40th episode, so like 40s, I was like, oh man, that does sound kind of fun. And I was like, maybe I'll just do one day and then go back, and that never works usually. If you break something, you're like, fuck that, I'm done. Well, we're here. We haven't talked about it for a couple minutes now, Sergio. We step our shit up.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else is new with you?
Pretty much busy working on landscapes for a show coming up in October, or not October, in November.
Nice. For who?
For the gallery out there in Duncan's Mills.
Oh, nice.
I'm always talking about.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm just pretty much just dedicating the entire month to just doing work for that gallery, aside from trying to get my open studio thing ready for next month as well. So
it's a party.
Yeah, it will be.
Hell yeah. I've been to one of those, I think.
Yeah.
I got pretty drunk.
Yeah. I think you, MJ, and Valerie just hung out for most of the day there.
I think we brought like a 24 pack or something. We're like,
yeah.
Let's get drunk.
Yeah. And then by the end of that, we were just all just sitting on my couch in the studio there, and people were walking like, yeah, check it out, whatever, if you want to.
Why are you supposed to like try to sell stuff?
Apparently, I heard that's what you do at open studios. You know what's funny though? Tony Giraldi Brown, I was talking to him last weekend because it was his show at Fogbelt, and so he was talking about that, and he said when he came in to my show or to the open studio, that's when I guess I first met him. I was just so done with the day that I don't even remember that part of meeting him. And he's just like, oh, okay, well, this guy's an asshole, I guess.
Pretentious cunt. Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
That's what I hear from a lot of people.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're in a podcast with Sergio, that like asshole guy? And I'm like, yeah. Yeah, he's kind of nice when you get to know him, kind of.
Yeah. Just listen to all 40 episodes to learn the depth of my assholeness.
That's cool. Landscapes.
Yep.
That's cool, I guess. I guess for those people that are into that kind of weirdo, kinky stuff like landscapes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's where the orgies are. In the woods.
Nice. That's cool.
But you got your own show you're working on coming up.
Yeah. I just finished those 2 pieces for the Ben Gallery show. It's like tiny pieces. Right around this time of year, it's like a common thing for galleries to be like, make a couple small paintings. Yeah. Yeah, and you go, sure.
Yeah, that's true.
So, so that's what me and MJ are both working on right now.
Let me guess, who's ahead of schedule?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm like, I just coast through the finish line every time. I'm just like, and she's like, probably, because we're supposed to send images tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Like it's like the deadline for images. I mean, it's not really the deadline, but it's like the deadline for promotion.
Right, yeah. I rarely ever hit those.
Yeah. And so I'm going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to photograph today or tomorrow morning, but
nice.
I'll do that, edit it, and be
get
good
your
to go.
shit on a postcard.
Yeah. Or not. Probably not. But I'm fine. I'm fine with it. But yeah.
Or you mean like, they probably just don't send out postcards anymore these days anyway, huh? A Ben Gallery? I actually don't know. But yeah.
Like little flyers?
Yeah. They send out, I don't know if they have a physical mailing list.
Oh, I don't know.
So many galleries are kind of doing away with that these days.
I didn't even know that was a real thing.
Oh, yeah. It used to be. Yeah, that was before Instagram. That's what people did. And the email newsletters.
That you just get like emailed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way that most people do it now. But yeah, my gallery that I do the landscapes for, they only have a physical mailing list. Really? Yeah.
That's crazy. Do they not know about global warming?
Yeah. They're adding to the carbon footprint.
Nice. But yeah, other than that, I'm supposed to do one more piece for Wonderland if I can get it done. Oh. I just started it yesterday.
When's that show coming up?
November as well.
Oh, okay.
And then, me and MJ, we're also planning a trip to Thailand.
Oh, that's right.
And that's in the beginning of November. So it's like all like coming to a funneling of chaos, which I can predict. And MJ probably will start freaking out pretty soon.
How far along is she with her paintings?
I don't know.
You don't look anymore.
No, I mean, I look, but like, it depends. You know, like you can take forever on a painting or like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I had this question. I think we had this question before about like some guy asking us about backgrounds on a painting.
Oh, sure.
And that's kind of like a tricky thing sometimes, you know, like sometimes a background will like very much make me not like a painting. And this is if you have like, I don't know, me and MJ, we kind of have like...
You mean your own paintings or anyone's paintings?
Anyone's paintings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If I see someone who's painting, I don't know how to explain it and I don't want to really say names, but
yeah.
If they have a certain way of doing backgrounds that I feel like is kind of phoned in.
Oh, yeah.
It drives me nuts.
Oh, yeah. That's a common problem, I would say.
I would prefer you just almost like white out the background, you know, or like...
Right.
Like solid color the background out.
Yeah.
Like, I like that much more than if you're trying to do, I don't know how to explain it. And I don't want to like.
Yeah. No, I totally get what you mean. Just downplay your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Artists out there.
Yeah. Or, you know, put more thought into it or.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Like if you're going to tackle a background and you're not great on, maybe not do it on the finished piece. Take some time to practice.
Yeah. Yeah, or just, you know, because like, I don't know how, well, for your backgrounds, you're pretty set, at least for right now, with the Painted Roses thing.
Yeah, yeah. But even when I do the other paintings that I do, that's also kind of the advantage of doing landscapes for so long that they're just background a lot of the time.
Right.
So, but yeah, even when I'm doing a figure in a landscape, I kind of tackle the entire piece at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, do all the blockings for everything right in the beginning. So the only time I leave it to the end to do the backgrounds, but even for the Painted Roses stuff, when I do that, I still paint the backgrounds as if they're like a white thing behind them. So it's all integrated into everything.
Yeah. And for me, my like process is I just end up trying to figure out what I'm obsessed about with like, a lot of it ends up being like natural decay of like, I don't know, structures, like the patina of buildings and things like that. I'm really into. I'm also really into like natural human mark making, like, you know, like a car crashing into something.
Oh, okay.
Or like
skid marks and shit.
Yeah. Or like if like kids, like, you know, if like someone has kids, you can always tell by their walls. There's something about that I like, or like random like pencil markings that they might leave or things like that. So I'm always trying to figure out how to like recreate things like that in my art. In the background and how I could use it like as a narrative tool or something like that. Yeah. But there's like a lot of like thought when it comes to that stuff, you know, like I'm not just like calling it in because it isn't like for the most part, it is a very flat background I usually do with just random shit or like abstracted things or whatever. And so I don't know. Me and MJ had this discussion. That's kind of why this all came up. It's just because I don't know. I don't know if she's gonna get mad at bringing this. You know, she's focused a lot of time on painting people, and skin tones, and this like very smooth feeling of her paintings or whatever, and
yeah, if you see her work over the years, you can just see that backgrounds just are a new thing for her, really.
Yeah. She used to use like the wood grain as like the background, which is perfectly fine. It's almost like a white background, you know. Right. You're just relying on, you know, whatever. So now she's kind of dipping her toes into it, and for a person like me, that is a grumpy person, and also like puts a ton of like thought into why I do the things in my backgrounds. Yeah. It just drives me nuts. So I'm like, I have to like almost pull away from it and be like, I have to explain what I think she should try to do and then pull away and let her do her own thing, or else my head will explode.
Yeah. When I think it's just a matter of her evolving as an artist and like finally figuring out what story she wants to tell in her painting. So
yeah,
just learning that skill set as you go along. That's a tough way to do it, but at this point, that's the way she's got to do it, I guess.
What do you mean? Because she's self-taught?
Well, because she's self-taught, and also, yeah, she doesn't have the experience of doing that part of painting that much. So
right.
She kind of has to learn it in public, kind of.
Yeah. It's tricky. And she's set up, like, MJ's always busy because she paints slow, and she has a Patreon.
Yeah.
Go give her money on her Patreon or whatever. And then, now
that you've told people to do that, you have all the freedom in the world to talk shit about her.
Yeah, I've said that. But yeah, so then it just ends up being that she's always busy, but she always wants to like take time to do other things with art, to like practice doing other things. Yeah. But it is tricky. I mean, it just is tough to, do that.
Yeah.
To find time as a working artist while having a full-time job to then go, no, I kind of want to learn this. I mean, the best scenario would probably be for her to go take a couple workshops or something.
Probably. But even then, you have to practice what you learn from the workshops too. And if it's something out of your wheelhouse, you got to set aside time to actually do that.
Yeah.
It's like when I took a watercolor workshop a couple years ago, I stayed pretty good with it for a couple months, and then I was like, okay, well, back to doing the shit I need to do.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm kind of a little bit in that boat right now where there's all these things I want to try and experiment with a bunch of different materials, kind of like what I used to do in my sketchbooks and stuff. But at the same time, I have to paint paintings for galleries and stuff too.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's whatever.
Yeah.
People will figure it out. Who gives a fuck? At the end of the day, I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like we obsess over like the things that no one else really either notices or cares about.
Oh, it's true. Yeah.
But maybe not. I don't know. I have no idea. I've seen plenty of people that do shitty backgrounds, in my opinion, that are successful artists. So whatever. I don't know.
But we both know. We know.
Yeah. Speaking about shitty artists who are successful, the big like art thing this probably month is
the big thing in the art world right now. It's got everyone in a tizzy.
Beach of the Angsty thing. That's what the rap kids call them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Did I mean, I'm assuming we all seen it if you're listening to this and you know anything about, even if you don't know shit about art. This is one of the most, the one really annoying thing about this to me is that everyone that knows that you do art that doesn't do art is going to be like, oh, did you see that Banksy thing?
Yeah.
And that's going to happen for a while and you're going to go, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Do you have any opinion on the Banksy thing?
I do. It's kind of, people are kind of, I guess we should say real quick that the whole thing is that in case people go back and listen to this later on, but this is the thing where Banksy shredded that painting at an auction. It was in a frame.
Explain. If you don't know yet, go fuck off.
Right. Well, I'll just finish my sentence.
Okay.
It was in a frame that had a shredder built into it. So when the auction price was, what do you call it? When they ended the auction, the
gavel
shredder
dropped.
The gavel dropped and the shredder went off, and now the painting is in shreds and now worth more. Yeah. And did you see that? Like, it was a big deal that the lady said that she decided to keep the painting.
Obviously, she did.
Yeah, of course, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, like Banksy's actual artwork isn't like his stencil stuff is never like anything that is anything. Like I'm never like into it. You know? It's very like clever satire stuff. Like that's what he does.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's done in like a style that I'm not the biggest fan of stencil art in general. You know, so it is what it is.
Yeah, his art is the social commentary aspect of it.
Yeah, and you know, it is what it is. The thing I think Banksy does really well is he like markets really well.
Oh yeah,
he markets his product. He's
very good at creating worth for his work.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the great artist of, you know, the last however many years, you could easily argue that technically they were pretty shitty or not that great or barely did any of the work that they are associated with or whatever. But it always seems like the reoccurring thing is that, they marketed themselves really well. You know, like that's the connecting of the dots between what seems to be the great artist of, you know, the last 40 years or whatever. Yeah. Is all marketing. So, you know, I'm not going to judge Banksy on his like work because I already did. I don't like it. Yeah. But as far as like a marketing person, I think he's like amazing at it. He's a fucking genius at it.
Oh yeah.
And in this scenario, I don't think it was like any different. Like when I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, he's super smart about that because everyone wins in that scenario. He wins because he got paid $1.4 million for his shit. People are talking about him. He seems even more genius than before. He's not the first person to damage his own artwork. That's for sure. Yeah. Maybe the first for 1.4 million. Yeah. But, you know, then you go into it and you realize like by doing that, he causes this, he points the attention there, which I pretty sure I assumed it was going to grow in value once I heard about it because it's like I haven't heard about Banksy for a while, but this piece ends up being a special piece by him, you know. So yeah, it's going to grow in value, which it happened, right? That happened.
Yeah. Well, the original piece is like pretty generic even for Banksy standard. It's just like growing the balloon. So yeah, how do you make something like that worth more? It came up with a really clever way to do that.
Exactly. And you know, I don't think there's any like anything special about even the idea. It's just the amount that it's worth because of his name. And then on top of that, him destroying it in front of a bunch of rich fucks ends up making it like this amazing thing, which I mean is great marketing. Everyone gets the win. And in a win-win scenario, it's great. It's great for no one's. The only people that are going to complain are artists. That's the only people. Exactly. They're going to be like, all right, hey, look over here, you know, which is like, it's whatever. I mean, I understand that too, because I'm an artist and I do think that people should be paying more attention to like really skillfully made art. But at the same time, I understand, you know, that's not his fault. Yeah. So whatever.
Yeah. His work is almost a reaction to people taking, I guess, the quote unquote wrong kind of art seriously. Yeah. It's like, even more of a win-win was like, he basically made fun of the scene of like art auctions and everybody there, and they love him for it.
I know. Fucking idiots. But yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. I know you had like 2 articles that you wanted to kind of talk about, or like maybe not articles, but one's just like a
reaction that kind of ties into what you just said about like artists being the people who are most upset about it.
Sorry, artists.
But it came into our feeds because it was we all follow Nicholas Uribe, and he had a really well thought out reaction to it. But what he was saying was kind of like what you're saying, like if people were really looking to find I guess, the anti-establishment type of art that people should care about, then they should go find their local art scene and see what people in that scene are doing.
Yeah.
And that's a great statement to make, but also at the same time, it's what we're all trying to do already in our own way.
Right.
So even making that statement in the way he did is great, but it's also just kind of preaching to the choir.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've talked shit about street art before. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Mm-hmm. I think it's like overhyped for what it is. I think there's some talented people, but for the most part, like the stencil, wheat paste, kind of like, I don't know, repetition of hearts. Mm-hmm. Like those people that are like, I don't know, they're not graffiti. They're their own little category. Mm-hmm. There's like a very small percentage of that group that I think are talented. Like,
did you ever dip your toe into that?
I tried it. Yeah, I didn't like it, but it's whatever.
Yeah,
I tried wheat pasting before. It's messy as fuck.
Yeah, I bet.
And I mean, Swoon, she's like a female New York artist, wheat paster. I think she's like really amazing at what she does. She does like lino cut stuff.
Okay.
And makes these huge wheat paste out of it. That's one of them. I own one that I ripped off an abandoned house.
Nice.
I boarded up a shed. But yeah, but I think she's really talented, and there's like a skill to it. You know, she's not just like, I don't know, like stencil stuff. I don't know. I think it's a little less tricky in a weird way. I think they just pretty much are photoshopping an image and then like tracing it with an X-Acto knife is my guess. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm dead wrong. Who knows? But I've heard Shepard Fairey talk about how he started the Andre the Giant thing, and it's pretty much that. He found a newspaper thing and traced it with an X-Acto knife and made a stencil out of it, and that's what it was. And I was like, all right, well, I don't know if that's cool with me.
Yeah,
whatever. But yeah, and then so Nicholas Uribe, which I just found out recently. He doesn't have an L in his last name.
Well, I don't get the B at the end of his name either.
But yeah, he talks. He kind of mentions the fact that like, there's all these really talented artists, and that these are the people kind of like pushing forward with art. And I don't disagree with them. I just think
I don't either.
They can live in the same world. Like everyone can. The Banksy can live in the same world as the artists that I think are pushing, like, who I think are pushing the like limits of art in the right direction. You know, those two worlds can exist together and be perfectly fine.
Yeah. What I got out of the Banksy thing was almost them saying, like, don't take this art market shit that seriously.
Yeah.
And then Nicholas's reaction to it kind of took it a little too seriously. Like his statement. That's just how my initial reaction to it.
Yeah. I think his reaction is to people's reaction. Probably not too much to the artwork. Yeah,
you could be right with that. Yeah.
But it just is what it is. People are going to like, fucking make a big deal out of this, and I'm gonna be like, I don't think it's that great, but like the marketing was amazing.
Yeah,
is what I'm gonna end up with my 2 cents, and people are gonna call him a fucking genius for this and super brave. But we live in a world where like the like ridiculous and the dramatic gets praised as genius.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We have Tekashi 6ix9ine today.
Kanye out there.
Yeah, and Kanye just trying to be. I mean, first he's full on crazy, but
yeah, there's that.
But he's also like trying to be a troll. That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
And that's Banksy pretty much is trolling people.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
Right, exactly.
And good for him. And I don't know. I don't consider that shit genius, but marketing wise, great job. Keep it up.
Yeah, exactly. Can't wait to see what prank you pull next.
Yeah, maybe you'll pull some people into the art world that weren't, and then they'll dive deeper than 2 inches and realize that there's a whole world out there.
I wonder how many people he actually does that for. There's no way to really tell, but
13.
Okay, you counted it.
But there was this other article. I didn't see it at all, but it's on NewsArtNet.
Yeah,
so they're probably super credible.
But there's a part in there that it's basically what I said about that, or he said in the article, he goes, I mean, if the first thing you think about this stunt isn't, wow, what a funny gag, I just think you may be proving Banksy's point about how art takes itself way too seriously.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, the fact that he's writing this long ass article about that shit, maybe you're also taking it way too serious, bro. So
well, maybe he's
chill the fuck out. Stop trying to throw shade with your shade.
Well, he might be getting paid by the word by art.net.
God, serious. So this long ass article where he's trying to prove that this is genius and haters are gonna hate. I mean, it is what it is. Like, he's doing the same shit, really.
Yeah.
Who cares? You could have your own opinion about whatever. It's not the biggest deal if someone doesn't like it, and if they want to throw shit at it. I mean, who cares? I don't know.
Yeah.
People. It's almost like you have to be either for it or against it. Well, that's stupid. It's like there's things I think are great about the thing he did. Mm-hmm. There's things I don't.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's okay. The movie was good. The acting was horrible.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what that is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
I think we wrapped that in a tight little bow.
Yeah. I think nothing ever has to be said about this.
Other current event we have to talk about because everyone else is.
Yeah.
There was a fight we watched with Monty and Leon and Matt, and at Monty's dad's house this last weekend.
What's up, guy?
Hey, what's up, guy?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was a fun night. I had to be sober, so it could have been funner. But
yeah.
I'll survive.
Monty drank for all of us.
Yeah. He was our champion that night.
But those are some good fights.
Yeah.
And the ones that took a while to get good.
Yeah. We screamed a lot. We made fun of a lot. Yeah. It's fun when you're around like a group of friends watching it for that reason, because you can just make fun of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Just laugh while you're, and then every once in a while you get exciting and everyone jumps up and freaks out, which is great.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the night capped off with like some drama, which was cool.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, gang affiliated craziness. It was the redheads against the bluebeards.
The red, yeah.
But yeah, it went down. It was pretty stupid. That's all I gotta say about that.
Do you think it was a work of any sort?
No. I think there was a lot of fucking hatred between the two guys. Which, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I went into it not knowing a ton about the animosity there. Yeah,
I knew it was bad, and then Brendan Schaub on his podcast, he called it out. Mm-hmm. Or on Joe Rogan's podcast, he called it out.
Right,
and I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely right about that.
Where he's like, I'm not going to that.
I didn't think the fighters were going to get involved. I thought the crowd was just going to go crazy. And then the crowd did go crazy, but the fighters kind of egged it on. They were kind of the spark to light the flame.
Well, isn't Khabib kind of known as being the more stoic, like very much like no nonsense kind of guy? Yeah. So it seemed like it was pretty crazy for him to be the one that flip out and jump the.
I've seen enough Russian YouTube videos of people.
Okay. Good point.
Where they're super calm until they fucking back kick someone until they wheel kick someone in the head, and you're like, okay, I don't want to go to Russia ever. Those guys are just like,
oh yeah.
They go from like 0 to 100 super fast. It seems like. I don't know. No diss to Russians.
Yeah. But yeah, I probably don't want to go to Russia for a number of reasons. But.
Yeah, it's a culture I can't like read.
Oh yeah,
you know, like read that well. I'm like,
yeah,
either they hate me or they're whatever. But yeah, I don't know. But that was that. We talked about UFC now. Nailed
the
that.
real winner of the night was Derek Lewis with his amazing post-fight.
My balls is hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Derek Lewis is just a funny guy. He's always been kind of that really funny interview. When he wins, you're like, oh, thank God. Can't wait till Joe Rogan gets in there. I was actually upset because of his last fight. It was so bad that they just didn't interview him. And I was like, at least give us the good interview. Like,
yeah. Did he win the last one? Or?
Yeah. But there was like 4 punches thrown the entire
Really?
fight. Yeah. And it was 2 guys that are like known to like knock people the fuck out.
Oh, okay.
So everyone is going in like, well, someone's head's going to get knocked off. And literally nothing happened. They just stood there for...
So he win by decision or something?
And it was a main event, I think. So I think it was 5 rounds.
5 rounds of just people standing
there. It was tough.
Yeah. Well, that's almost what this ended up being.
Yeah. But whatever. Yeah.
That was a great little haymaker at the end.
Yeah. If anyone
that made us all jump up and scream.
Yeah. Yeah,
the funniest part was making Kanebo watch it.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we made Kanebo. By the way, congrats Gilbert and Kanebo. They just got married not a couple weeks back.
Oh yes, congrats.
But they we made them watch because they came late. So. But whatever. She wasn't too happy about it. But yeah, God. What else was I going to talk to you about? Oh, yeah. I wanted to talk about when we had Zach Oldenkamp on the episode.
Yeah.
He like mentioned something, and it kind of came up in the last episode. And I've been thinking about it a bit since. Me and MJ had a discussion about it too. And what he said was he asked what that he had this discussion with his friends about what his art and what their art sounds like. I don't know if you've ever had that conversation before, but
no.
I found it really interesting because once he said what his art sounded like, I was like, oh, you're nailing that. Like, you know, I mean, I've thought of other art mediums. Obviously, I always bring up like movies and stuff and things like that for like one thinking about my art, but I've never thought about the sound. And so I've been thinking about that, and so figured I'd say, what does your art sound like, Sergio?
And that's something I've never really thought about either. So yeah, it's I guess it depends on what I'm doing, because the easy answer on my landscape site, well, it sounds like being outside and birds tweeting and chirping and stuff like that.
Okay, I just figured it out.
What's that?
Your art sounds like a Yaz flute.
Yaz flute? What's a Yaz flute?
It's like, I think the anchor man on the movie.
Oh, okay.
He calls it jazz flute, the Yaz flute.
Oh, okay. I forgot
when she said birds chirping, I'm like, okay.
But my figurative work, that's harder to put a sound to, I think.
Yeah. I don't know if I could put a sound to your work. I think you probably have to do it your own stuff.
Yeah.
Too.
I don't know. Tell me what listeners tell me what my work sounds like. That's what this podcast is for.
Like a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
I don't know if there's like maybe there's a sort of music you can put to it, but I have no idea. when I paint, I'm like listening to podcasts 90% of the time. So they probably don't sound like people talking to each other.
Sound like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I can see that. Okay.
They sound like Louis J. Gomez screaming at people.
I thought that my art sounds like a dark indie folk. that's kind of what I sound what I listen to when I other than podcasts. It's like the music I usually tune in when I'm painting is something like dark and like a little bit lighthearted sometimes, but dark and moody indie music, indie folkish music.
I guess one way to try and come up with what it might sound like is if you were to make like a documentary about your work, and how would you score it? I'd have to think about that for a while to figure that out.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a tricky one for you.
Yeah. It'd be very light, classical piano. I don't know.
Put me to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting question.
It is an interesting question. I just don't have an interesting answer
You haven't thought about it since you heard it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to go on to the next podcast.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was interesting because Hiroshi, he, I don't know if he listened to the episode and then happened to bring it up as well, but he mentioned it like he wants his music to sound like
his paintings to sound
quiet with a monotone or something like that. And I remember having that like question in my head and I mentioned it on the podcast about just looking through his work and thinking it sounded quiet as well.
Yeah. It's probably a good question to ask a lot of painters.
Yeah. Or even just while going through artwork, it's kind of like cool like to have that in the back of your head of like a thing to think about when looking at other people's work.
I think that's a great way to come up with a mood for your work if you're like sort of thinking of it in a synesthesia kind of way where you're thinking of like colors that taste like different things, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know. I think it's just cool just to think of like how you could, if you think that way, I think it might be, because I think one of the big things with Zach was, I think, I might be wrong, but I feel like his art almost wants you to almost, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like, when you eat an oyster, it tastes like you're like it feels like you're in the ocean almost. Like that feeling. Like like I think his art is trying to do that. I might be dead wrong, but I get that feel like he's trying to push you into an experience that you can almost like eating an oyster. You're almost like transplanted there, and you're like, oh wow, like and I think with the mindset of how it sounds is like a mindset you can use to maybe accomplish that. Like it might be like another tool just to be like, oh, I can accomplish that if I have a mindset of how I want this to sound and how I want, anything in that realm of like senses, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I always think that when I'm looking at my favorite landscape paintings, the ones that make you feel like you could smell the salty air or something in a seascape or whatever.
Right.
You hear the ocean in it or whatever. Just enough of the senses, or at least visually, enough of your senses are triggered with it just through your eyes that actually connect something to other parts of your brain, maybe. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky, but
it's fun to think about.
Yeah. And I think it's, if you go into a painting kind of like thinking about that, or maybe even before the painting kind of thinking of how you would even be able to maybe accomplish it and try it out, then maybe you'll find something either special or just something useful that you can use in the future or something like that.
Yeah. I think color palette has a lot to do with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably a huge amount. Yeah. That's one of our main tools is probably.
Yeah.
It's one of the crazy things when people paint in black and white, you're like, damn, that's crazy. Because like, I mean, I feel like it probably can transplant you into a certain time, right?
Yeah.
Black and white being like pre-color TV and pre-color pictures, you know. But it's weird when it's like, you know, like Monty, he paints like modern imagery.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's weird because, you know, I don't know. It's limiting of a tool, but I don't know if it's for nostalgia's sake. I'd have to have that conversation with them. See, I mean, we've already had it kind of, he likes the iconicness of it, which I guess that kind of is, you know, works as similar to, I don't know. He doesn't have to use it as nostalgia. I'm just kind of a little obsessed about that right now. So
Yeah.
maybe.
But yeah, even some of the best black and white images, you can almost infer a color palette from it in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think. I mean, or just go and glaze it real quick and you'll be sad.
Yeah, there's that too.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was an interesting thing. I know Hiroshi had like, I listened back to his conversation and there was things I like was like, I mean, even during the conversation, I knew I could have pushed back a little bit on things, but I don't know. It's not my job to just end up in a full-on argument with the guest.
But you were kind of worried about that happening or something, or
yeah. Well, when we were messaging back and forth
about it,
he was like, "Oh, I'm very opinionated." I'm like, "Great."
Yeah.
Like, well, fun. I'm not lacking in opinions.
Yeah.
I think it was just the perfect amount of pushback, or
I thought so.
Whatever before it got a little too off track, or maybe too like ego centered, at least for me.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Proving myself right or something like that.
Yeah, there were a couple of points that were made that I'm trying to remember what they were exactly about. Oh yeah, just the whole idea about are there any invalid opinions about art? Like, it's hard to be like, oh no, there's not, or yes, there are. Like, it's hard to be one way or
invalid opinions about art. Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, sure there is.
It's like, well, how do you identify those? It's just like what just opinions that you don't agree with. Is basically what it comes down to. No,
that's based in nothing. I don't know. Is probably what I'd say. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, like a non-opinion then, or
like, I don't know, like people have opinions about, like, I've had an argument with someone about music, for instance, right? Where they were very much into pop music and I'm very much not. And at the time I was a lot younger. So I was like, fuck your music.
Yeah.
And so I was like, but it kind of started where he was like, he started by saying, fuck your music. Like, your music sucks. And I was like, what do you listen to? And he was like, Ursher and Sync.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Pretty much like whoever was hot at the time. And I was like, oh, you listen to garbage.
MTV. Yeah.
So then, and I was listening to like A$AP Rock at the time.
Yeah.
So like, like underground rap or something.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
And he was like, this is horrible. And I was like, so we got in this long conversation. I was like, oh, do you like this rapper? And he was like, no. And then so I like snuck in like a legendary jazz musician. And he was like, yeah, that guy sucks. And I was like, what don't you like about it? And he's like, oh, and he said something about rap. And I was like, oh, so you're just making your opinion to win the argument. Like, people, what I'm saying is people can just make opinions based on their own, like, it's like the thing with Banksy, I think, is like, you can just go into it knowing that you don't like Banksy and saying like, fuck whatever he did off the bat. And to me, that's like not a good opinion. Like, I don't think it's a valid opinion. I think it's bullshit to not even ingest his art and then say like, do I like it? Do I hate it? Why don't? If you're just going to go in instantly hating something because it's popular or whatever.
Right, yeah.
To me, that's not a valid opinion. I don't care about it. And I don't think it should be heard, to be honest.
I see. I get what you're saying there.
But I don't know. At the same time, whatever.
Yeah. At the same time, those opinions are very easily dismissed. It's like probably easily pushed back on. It's
like the old phrase of like, there's no dumb question. It's like, Sure there is. There's plenty of dumbass questions. I've heard plenty of them.
Yeah.
It's a polite way of trying to let someone in, right? To like your world. Or like you say there's no dumb question because you want them to ask questions. You don't want them to not ask questions about things, right? Mm-hmm. But you're just being a friendly person. The statement isn't true. It's just being nice.
Yeah.
And all that,
you're giving them an in to open up.
And I think that's the same thing with the old art. Like everyone's opinion matters. It's like, sure. But like, I don't think they're all valid. I don't think they're all good. I think that's my opinion. Is that not a good opinion? Like, contradict your opinion? Or your statement. It's whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Did you have any opinion on that?
I think I'm more in the camp of letting people have their say no matter what it is.
Oh, I mean, I'm okay with that. Okay. But I'm going to also tell you if I totally disagree with it. And I will also say if I think it's stupid. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure you can have your opinion. I'm less
likely to do that.
Like, sure, feel free to have an opinion. And I will feel free to call your opinion bullshit. Like, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I guess. So, yeah. I don't know. It depends. I guess the argument is what does valid mean in that statement, right? Like,
right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why, because it's such a tough thing to nail down. It's hard to say one way or other, but when you really get down to like one opinion versus another, then it's hard to say one thing. It just comes down to being a lack of being ignorant about a thing and having more to say about than you probably should. Right.
Yeah. I mean, if someone is going to a piece of art and like looking at it and then putting their opinion out about what they think it is or whatever, that to me is valid.
Okay.
Like, that's fine. But like the Banksy thing is a good example of people go in with this idea already built in, right? It's not because they absorbed the art and then came out with opinion. It's like the second you hear Banksy, you're like, I don't care, I hate it. You know, it's like me and Jackson Pollocks.
Like Jackson Bollocks.
Yeah, exactly. Nailed that one.
Dad joke number one.
But yeah.
There were other things in the episode that I really liked. That whole concept of painting toward or away from something. Because he mostly related it toward painting to, like, trying to make your painting look like a photo versus using the photo to be more of a takeoff point from it. And for a long time, I've been mostly painting toward a photo because what I do in Photoshop, I try to make the reference look as close to what I want the painting to look like.
Right.
Aside from, adding more brushwork, whatever, into it. But that series that I've been working on, The Orgies in the Dark, it's a whole different way of looking at it because I'm using the photo as a starting point instead and trying to veer away from it. Right. And just not knowing where the hell to go with it because there's no finish line to it. So it's been really tough to adjust to that, but it's also been really fun because it's something new.
Right. Yeah. That was a cool little insight, or way of thinking about it, which I thought was cool. I don't know if I have much to add to that.
Do you feel like you paint toward or away from your photos or anything like that?
Pretty much towards. I mean, I will like change things. Like, I don't know. The statement I think is true, but I think it's more like, I don't know, maybe just for me, but I don't know if that's true, is like, it's almost like based brushstroke for brushstroke, right? In a weird way, like it depends on what section of whatever it is, and if I want to make it more like the painting or exaggerate it, and like it's like a huge spectrum of like things, I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't think too much about that concept after the podcast, but I would have to. It would be more like moments I do, moments I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's a real like full on like. I don't. If I had to pick a side, I guess it would be towards the picture, towards the painting. But I don't know. It's whatever.
Yeah. And then the last thing from that episode that I dwelled on a lot was the whole idea of representational art being fan fiction these days.
Oh, yeah.
And I almost feel like, hasn't it kind of at least in the context that he put it, like, hasn't representational art always kind of been that? Like, even like people who want to paint like Sargent these days,
right.
Sargent wanted to paint like Velasquez and so on and so forth.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we probably, I could have like very much argued with him about that idea for a long time.
Yeah.
Because I just think I don't consider it, I don't know. Fan fiction is a weird way of phrasing it.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because that's the way he thinks about it when he's creating, and he embraces that, which is cool.
Yeah. Especially if you look at his influences, you can see all of them like right there.
Yeah.
On the surface. But
for me, I think it's like, I just think it's things built on top of things.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it too.
And I don't think it's necessarily like fan fiction, like there is this original creator and then we're all just like, I don't think it applies as much as like a Star Wars fan fiction thing, right? Where like there was this guy who made Star Wars and then like even like you can call like the new movies fan fiction in a way, like
right.
I mean they pretty much are fan fiction. Like they're not George Lucas's storyline.
Yeah.
They're fan fiction, but the way he creates, I think he's almost doing that. He is like embracing the shit out of this concept of fan fiction, and then he's doing it, and I think you can see that. And when he explains it, you go like, oh yeah, like you are creating fan fiction. I don't know if that's necessarily like how art as a whole, like how representational art as a whole is. Like,
right, yeah.
I think it's just building upon those that came before you and taking what you like from it and, adding something from this current time and those kind of things. Like, I think it's all that. Like, because we are kind of all repeating the same story in a way. It's that same old thing of like every story's been told.
Right.
And
no one's reinventing the wheel kind of thing.
You're just kind of phrasing it from your experiences. What I think, it's like, it's like from my experiences, I'm rephrasing it because of my experience. It's like everyone has told this story, but no one's told it at this exact time, standing in my exact position, so it is, it's that whole thing of like, I don't know, we're just building on what came before us and adding our little 2 cents and, and that's my opinion. And we could have probably like really got into it, like just dive deep for a long time, but it was like, I don't know. I kind of like want to hear his concept on this, and just let it roll.
Yeah, for sure.
But
we could spend the next episode dissecting it.
Yeah. But yeah, I know. Ever since that episode, I'm like, God, I need to hang out with Hero so we can get drunk and argue shitload.
He's definitely a guy you could sit around and talk shit about art for a while.
For hours probably. But yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah.
There was a lot to unpack in that episode.
I want to do my own fan fiction now. Just have dig off, fall in love with Monet and post it on Reddit.
Maybe not fall in love, but like maybe like they're like friends with benefits or something.
Yeah, exactly. What they do on Reddit. Just replace Han Solo and whoever people make him fall in love with on fan fiction websites and add painters to it.
One thing. Well, I guess you told me right before we started that you've kind of already answered this, but we'll go through it again because I've never answered it. I actually didn't think about it too much, so now I'm like, God. But the David Cho money thing.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, I listened to the episode where you guys were camping, but I don't remember. I remember you guys just talking about Lop the entire time.
That was only 20 minutes. Come on.
But yeah. No, I was just giving you shit.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't remember I remember you asking the David Cho money question.
Yeah.
I don't even remember the answers. I just remember the two guests answering.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember your answer. I don't know why.
Huh.
All
right.
So it was probably
I don't think you've ever answered it on the podcast.
No.
Yeah. But it was very forgettable. So you said. Well, maybe it was. But I'll say it a second time so you don't forget us.
Repetition.
Yeah. But no, my answer was that I wanted to have different art studios and where I could work in places that I could kind of vacation to or places that I like to spend time in. Mm-hmm. Like I wouldn't mind having a place in the Pacific Northwest in the summer because it's beautiful up there.
Right.
And part of the money would go to traveling to figure out the other places that I would want to put studios in. But right. Yeah, I think that I would want to just kind of go around taking in different places and cultures for chunks of time and see what comes out of that as far as my art goes. And then also I want to use some of the money to create more elaborate concepts, or at least like be able to make real life elaborate concepts that I might think of. Because I feel like there's a lot of things that maybe I've thought of and I've just sort of put them out of my head because I'm like, well, when am I ever going to set something like that up to paint from? And I'm such a paint from life or paint from photos kind of guy that I don't like to invent things anymore at this point.
Right.
So I would want to do stuff like that. Just hire a bunch of people, get costume teams.
We know, Serge. Hire a bunch of people, set up an orgy.
Yeah. Well, I could.
Make the lights just dim enough to where you can make out the figures.
Yeah. Enough money. There's a price on everybody.
Nice. I think if I had to do it, I would probably move to LA.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like the art scene I would want to be most of the part of probably as of right now.
Huh.
And then I would, now I'm in LA, so I have to find a new host for Waiting to Dry. So
just can't throw me a bone. I'll take the guest house.
We got a granny unit for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would probably dip my foot into like mural work. Like spend more time, like, I don't know, doing more like of that kind of realm because I don't know, to me, that's as far as right now, I think it's like one of the more important like things happening in art is mural work, just because it's like the most publicly seen things, and you know, us as artists, other than Instagram, but that's like the only, like, that's probably the most consumed artwork where you're looking
public
at
art,
the artwork, and you know, that's a big thing. That's like a big hurdle with artists, I feel like nowadays, is like, how do I get my artwork seen in real life? Like, it's not the picture on the little phone screen that I want people to see. I want people to see like my work. I also would like to like have other people do murals too, just because. And I would buy a shitload of art for sure. I would like instantly take a big chunk of that, maybe like $1 million off the top, just buying a shitload of art.
Yeah, I would have to do that too.
But yeah, other than that, I don't know if I would do much different. I would definitely make a studio like Joe Rogan's for my art studio. Like a Fantasy Factory type deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because I'm a child. But other than that, I don't don't think.
Would you put a big werewolf in it like he would?
Probably not. I'm not that obsessed with werewolf things. But yeah, mural stuff, buy a bunch of art, probably move to LA, or at least maybe buy a spot in LA. And,
right.
I mean,
where in LA would you want to go?
I don't know. I don't know LA that well. I'd probably have to go there and, I would, now that I'm a rich person, I wouldn't want to live near the peasants. So that's a for sure thing.
Malibu
Common
studio.
folk, ugh, get away from me. But yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'd probably also want to, I mean, for sure, everyone says the same shit, right? Travel, buy your parents a home.
Yeah. That's why that's why I try to keep it like art related.
Yeah.
The other shit's.
I would also want to buy like a huge piece of property somewhere in the middle of nowhere as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. To like not have to be around people too at some points in my life.
Yeah.
Because, people are cool, but they also can suck sometimes. So, but yeah.
That's the Bill Burr plan. He always talks about that on his podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some land would be nice. That's how you know you're getting old.
Yeah.
When it goes from like, I need to live in the city to like, just like no one around me. Like that's the dream. Like just a couple chickens, not to like eat them, just like have eggs and hang.
Yeah. When you're a kid, you're like, I want to buy a lion or something.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was like, what can a lion give me?
Yeah. Can't milk a lion.
But yeah, I don't know. Did you want to dive into questions that people asked?
Sure, yeah. There's a couple of good ones.
Here's what we think about the questions you guys asked. I printed it out just to rip them.
We didn't even get a soundboard for that one.
Post-it notes, they come in handy.
Yeah.
I remember one was, do you paint from reference or picture, or do you have any thought on that? And I am one, I'll just say mine while you look for another question. I don't care. I only care about the end product of the painting.
Yeah.
And whatever you prefer. If you like to paint from life, paint from life. If you don't.
Yeah.
If you like to paint from your imagination, imagination it up.
I would prefer to paint from life more than I do, but it's just what I paint and the way I paint it, that's just not realistic at all. That's where that 200 million would come in handy for.
You would only paint from life?
I do a lot more of it than I would now. But yeah, there's certain things where you just have to take a photo of it if you are going to try and paint it realistically at all.
Right.
And yeah, it's a good practice, definitely, to paint from life. But that's, for the most part, all I'm doing it for these days. Is just learning more about how things look in reality.
Right.
Compared to a photo.
Snap back to reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. This one's from Ozzy. How much apologizing is too much apologizing? Until the other person accepts it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably when you don't need to apologize. That's what I hate the most.
Yeah.
When someone's like, I'm sorry. You're like, for what?
Oh, yeah. The whole, like, the apology epidemic of 2012 or whatever.
What was that?
When everybody was apologizing for everything. Well, it's probably longer. It's been an ongoing thing.
Is this political or what is this?
It's more like people getting in trouble for things they say.
Oh, like the Me Too thing? Or?
Not even the Me Too thing.
Oh,
that's
like
a
the
real
social
thing.
justice.
Yeah, it's more like social justice thing.
Oh, yeah, where people like will say like a joke, or they said a joke when they're like 15 and they're like having to like apologize or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I listen to so many comedy podcasts, so they're obsessed with that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's whatever. People can.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no input on that one.
But anyways, have either of you done Inktober or even cared about it?
I'll do like maybe a drawing or two.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I don't do the whole like ink drawing a day.
Yeah.
I got shit to do, man.
That's pretty much where I tapped out to. I did like 2. I was like, why am I doing this? I have other things I want to do more.
Yeah. And I'm not that's not the medium I enjoy that much. So like for me, it's more like to let the people that do ink stuff, it's their time to shine. Like show them some love and attention, people. Go look at Tony's stuff. Look at Nate Van Dyke stuff. Look at whoever else is doing some Inktober stuff.
Right.
Those are the guys that do it the best.
Yeah, people who ink is their media.
Yeah. Those guys.
It's a good excuse.
What's the guy with the beard, who does like it on that like transparent plasticky paper stuff? I forget what that stuff's called.
On vellum?
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not
I think
sure.
his name was Scott something. It might be dead wrong.
Oh, okay.
I don't got my phone. Scott something. Look at his stuff. But yeah, those are the guys that like kill it. The guys that like really fuck with ink. I don't. So I'll do like one thing and I'll be like, well, I'm good to go. Like I tried it. I remember that I'm not that into this. And,
yeah. As soon as I started doing ink, I was like, if I'm going to keep doing this, I'd rather just do it in pencil anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of how I feel about ink right now at this point.
I mean, I don't know. I like ink. It just is one of those things. To be good at a medium, you have to be consistent. You really do. I mean, maybe not, but for ink, for me,
for sure, I agree.
It's like I can't just jump into it and nail it. I have to like. You have to remember things. Like I did one little crow. That's like the one thing I did.
Oh yeah, that was cool. I like that.
Thank you. And I was gonna give you shit for giving me a compliment, but
you're so taken aback. Like, oh my god, this is so rare.
That just tells you about my childhood. She's like, don't tell me you love me. But yeah, like halfway through the drawing, it's like, oh yeah, I kind of remembered to do that, or oh yeah, I forgot this, or my ink pens, they always seem to be like I get like the first big like blob of ink just squeeze out. I don't know if it's because they're in my bag and they've just been like pressurized or something. So like the second I always got to remember like, oh yeah, the second I try this, a huge glob of ink shoots out of it.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Inktober. I'm doing sober October. So,
yeah.
So that's been fun.
You're doing sober Inktober, so you're sober.
It's funny though. It's like everything I've been posting recently, I'll just hashtag it not, and then space hashtag Inktober, and then I do like a little smirk like emoji.
Yeah.
And no one's caught it yet. No one's been like, you fucking asshole. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for like someone to be like, hey, sneaky, and then I'll do like. And if it's in like color pencil or oil, I'll go like Painttober ? Yeah. Or like Penciltober ?
Yeah. I should just do that.
Just as like a stupid joke in my hashtags, which no one looks at hashtags. It would be weird if anyone caught it, but yeah. That's what I've been doing. So I guess I have been doing Inktober.
Yeah, just not with ink.
Yeah.
All right. Here's an interesting question. More about writers that inspire you or literary imagery that influenced your visual imagery, if that ever happened.
Who is this asshole? Have they not listened? They know I don't read.
But yeah, I guess for you, it's been like the last example of that was Bukowski doing that poem for the painting.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I guess nothing beyond that recently.
No. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's these like poets that I really like, but they're more like spoken word people. But I don't know. It's not the person everyone listening is thinking of. They don't have white guy dreadlock syndrome. But, they're like really talented writers. It's like Buddy Wakefield and Agnes Mojgani.
Okay.
Like these two fucking beasts with words. But they're very talented, and sometimes if I'm like in a slump, I'll like replay a couple of like of like Ignice. He did one called Milo, and then I forget the title of the other one. Buddy Wakefield, he does one about something with a horse in the title. I can't remember. It's fucking amazing though. It's so good. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. I mean, I like the classics, you know, like John Steinbeck, but I don't really use him when it's like my work.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm trying to think of if I have anything that inspires imagery, written word. At the moment, no, but when I was more into learning illustration, I used to read a lot more. There was a sci-fi illustration class that I took in school, and so
nerd alert.
And so yeah, there were a couple of books, sci-fi books I read from there that ended up becoming illustrations, but beyond that, I can't even remember the last time I actually for fine art. That's just not part of my practice to take words and make them into paintings.
Right. Was the sci-fi class right after the pocket protector class? Oh, zing. Yeah. Okay. Wedgie defense class. Is that right?
My what?
Right before wedgie defense class?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You have how to defend from swirlies.
I don't know. I wonder how many people have actually ever been through that swirlies. Because, I mean, I never thought that was a real thing. Because it's like, why don't you just put your arms on the toilet?
Yeah.
Right?
It's not it'd be a tough thing to pull off, like, even if it's a skinny kid.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen it. Well, I mean, just people bullying people in general. I was always like, don't, like, I mean, you can give your friend shit, but like if you're trying to just pick on a kid, I'll like try to beat your ass.
Yeah.
Like, I've always been the like, stop or else I'm going to hurt you and I'm going to be the bully in this scenario. So I don't know. Our school was pretty cool in that regards. Like,
oh, really?
There's very little like that. I never really saw much bullying. Maybe middle school was definitely a lot meaner for sure.
Oh, you're talking about high school? Yeah. High school, really the only fights were just like male aggression, really, or sometimes female aggression too. Right. But
having to do with a boy or another boy. Or
yeah, exactly. The bullying was like verbal, like people just talking shit about people behind their backs. Really.
Maybe there was some of that. But yeah, I don't know how we got to.
I don't know. Well, if you listen to our podcast, you probably know the answer to this one, though. But your favorite philosophical or artistic topics to argue about with other people and why?
I don't even know what you're thinking about.
Well, it's just like we talk about art like the entire podcast. So it's kind of what we're into talking about. I don't know about philosophy, though. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I like listening to some like philosophy podcasts, like the Very Bad Wizards. There's like a philosophy major or professor there, and it's one of those worlds where I realize like I don't know much at all. Like you know, like I know very, very little. I know like Plato and like Kant. Like pretentious Kant, you know, but like even there, it's like I don't know. Philosophy is like a topic is cool and all. I just don't. I don't know. My memory is horrible. I can't remember things. I can't names and theories and things like that. I don't know.
Yeah, my recall is pretty bad too. Where somebody will explain to me something and I'll just jumble it, trying to get it to repeat it back to somebody. So yeah, I tend to. That's a lot of the reasons I keep quiet during these types of debates.
Good move. Good move. But yeah, I don't know.
But like art topics, it's like just what we talk about on the podcast. Really, is what we like to talk about because that's how we do it.
Yeah. I guess as far as art topics, it's probably like, I don't know, representational versus even that stuff's kind of not that interesting to me. I don't know.
I feel like there's a finite like place to take that. before you're just talking in circles.
It's just tricky when it comes to like, because you said to debate.
Yeah, I guess to argue it, but I don't know.
My issue is always like if like last week's episode, it was very tough for me to not debate, only just because Hiroshi talks very definite, like this is what it is, and for me, I'm always like instantly when it comes to like beliefs or anything, I'm always like nothing is like definite. Yeah, that's always like my thought. It's like, so you can't you can't say. Even though you can, it's for me, it's always like my opinion is, I think, like it's never like this is what it is. This is what it isn't. And Hiroshi, he talks in definites. So for me, it's always like, oh, I want to push back on that, but yeah,
yeah.
But that's what I like debating most is whenever anyone's like, this is the best or this is the worst or this is how it is. Right. And that's just, we've talked about it before. I grew up in a very religious home, and
right.
It's like my tendency now just to like doubt everything. And anytime anyone says something is this way and I'm like, it sounds like an opinion to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for the most part they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they're not, then they're just facts. So like, why debate them anyway?
Yeah. And I mean, in art, it's like tough to like lock down facts. We're not scientifically based.
Right. Exactly.
So it's all just beliefs it ends up being.
Yeah. It's the exact opposite of science.
Yeah. Well, maybe not the exact opposite.
There's science in creating art.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. See? Doing it right there.
Look out, Neil. DeGrasse Tyson.
Oh, okay. I'm like, Neil.
There's a new scientist in town, and his name is Sergio and Josh. But
Josh and I, the science guy.
Who else we got? Shout out to that guy. You should shout them out.
Oh,
maybe it'll give us more questions.
Oops. I'll have to. I just took these and put them on a Google Doc. I didn't take the names.
Great job, Sergio.
All right. Triple primed linen or polyester, stretched or mounted to panel and cradle.
I'll handle this one.
Oh, okay. Well, I was
wood panel, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. I was going to say, first of all, how dare you ask us materials questions on this podcast?
Or that.
Yeah. Second of all, triple primed linen and stretched to panel for me, or mounted to panel for me. So
I think I already answered that. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. It doesn't matter, by the way. Just find a rigid surface.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for don't do stretched. It seems like everything about that is bad.
Yeah. The only time I ever do stretch canvas is if I'm shipping something big.
You want to roll it?
Yeah, just to save on shipping costs.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But when you get that David Cho money,
yeah. I'll fly them out to see the painting in person.
Just private jet it or first class it, and just have it in a chair.
Yeah, exactly. It's a world tour it. Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. Is that it?
No, we still got some. We got some silly questions too, but there's a couple more art questions.
Okay, let's go.
First of all, I don't know why they're asking us this. Do you know of any ateliers in the LA area?
Judson, listen to Judson episode.
Yeah, exactly.
He will tell you there's a website Judson runs with his wife, and they name all the ateliers in the world and how good they are. It's like the IMDb of ateliers, what people are saying. Well, I've never even been on the website, so what if I go on? I'm like, nothing like it. It's nothing like IMDb. We're the trailers.
Just hit up Judson. He'll let you know.
He can hook you up. And put in the code Sergio and Josh, and he'll give you 10% off on his opinion.
And ask him to say Sergio for you too. Here's one, I guess maybe for me. Do you think going back to school to receive a master's is worth it?
No.
That's an obvious no from Josh, but it just depends on what you are expecting to get from going to school to get a master's for. It's not, it's usually just to try and get yourself into
museums.
into museums.
Whatever route you want to go.
Yeah.
So, if you want to go the museum route and you're trying to be a basic ass. Then yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely not, you're not getting your bang for the buck as far as learning about painting or like anything technical, really. Yeah. You could just do that.
I mean, is this person asking for themselves, or are they asking because
maybe for themselves? I don't know. It's just a generic question, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a question you got to answer yourself.
Yeah.
We can't answer that for you. Or for ourselves.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's a no, because then I'd just literally have to start from day one. Should I go back from from when I dropped out before I started and get my master's?
Yeah, exactly. And that's
I don't know. One of MJ's, like, one of the interesting things MJ's has told, we've had this discussion about if you win the lottery, kind of the David Cho question, what you would do. And this is like not thinking art related. MJ's always said she wanted to go back to school, like go to art school.
Yeah.
I've always thought that was super weird.
Oh. I actually wouldn't mind if I had the money to go back into a class situation, just because of how much it just moved my art forward when I did it back in the school days.
You realize you'd be like the Fonz, right? Like the old ass fucking guy. Hang out. Like, hey.
You mean I'd be the cool guy?
I guess that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
It's
all in perception.
What's his name on Dazed and Confused?
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know. But
yeah,
I got not much to add to that.
I knew it probably wasn't going to be in your wheelhouse. But speaking of not in our wheelhouse, how would you go about asking an artist to be their assistant apprentice? It's probably just like you going about trying to get into a gallery. You kind of got to ask and see who's actually looking for one.
Yeah, that'd be, I don't know. I mean, would it be unpaid intern?
Probably. I would think so. Yeah.
Feel free to gesso all my wood panel for me.
Yeah, exactly. I thought about actually having try and get somebody to do that for me. Because I was like, man, because I went and re-gessoed a bunch of old paintings of mine. I was like, this is taking too long. Who's at the JC that I could hit up?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I actually would not want an apprentice, just because I hate people, like, especially when it comes to
just in general
art things, like having to, and I hate teaching people things.
Yeah.
So like those two things just would anger me.
Right.
But yeah, I don't
Maybe
know.
this is his way of asking if he could apprentice for one of us.
I doubt it. He hates your work, he told me.
Yeah.
In the DMs. It's like, fucking sir, this is only for you, Josh.
But I'm going to tiptoe around it and ask you in this roundabout way. I'm going to ask Sergio if you could ask Josh if I could be an apprentice.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I honestly would say ask. I mean, take your shot. Write the list of the artists you would want to be an apprentice of and ask.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah. What's the worst case scenario? They say, nah. You're like,
yeah, exactly. Pretty much.
So I think you'll be fine. Just ask. People, I feel like, are pretty friendly in general. Someone asked me to be their apprentice, I wouldn't be mad at all. I would just be flattered and say as nice as I could, sorry, but that's not for me.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I don't think, I would be surprised if anyone was mad at the question.
Yeah.
You're just going to get a no.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, be prepared for getting a no, because that's most likely what's going to happen for the most part.
Yeah.
Just like you approach a gallery.
I don't even know how apprenticeships work with artists. Do you live with the artist?
No, I think if an artist needs an apprentice, they usually have a studio to go to.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I think it's more common in like the atelier scene where people are still grinding paints and stuff like that. So they need somebody to grind their paint for them.
Like they get like raw pigment or something?
Yeah. You have to mix oil into it themselves.
Damn artist, I swear to God.
Some people are that obsessed about how their materials work. So
yeah, I get that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's not for me for sure.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I'm making my own wood frames and everything.
That's true.
So whatever. I got
yeah, you have your own thing. You're
obsessed about.
Yeah.
That I could just outsource to people that do it for a profession.
Yeah, but that takes money.
Yeah, I actually don't even care. I would still want to do it. I just like cutting wood and stuff.
Yeah,
so fun to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if grinding pigment is probably.
It's not. It's like for me, I've done it before. I'm like, no, this ain't fun. This ain't what I got into the game for.
But they just get like a bunch of like iron oxide or something. What is it?
No, you can buy just pigments of like any color
like
you want.
A solid thing of pigment.
Or powder, yeah. In a powder form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just add the linseed oil or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mix it. But
is that you need the thing, yeah.
Mortise or like the thing, not the mortise, what is it called?
Is it mortar and pestle or something like that?
Mortal and pestle.
Something like that, yeah.
Someone's fucking head's exploding. Yeah.
Ask Judson that too. He'll know.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought you could just like mix it with like a palette knife.
You can, but it just takes a longer, I think.
Oh, really?
I think it doesn't mix as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never done it and I don't really.
No, you need I think you actually do need the thing to like really,
Does it depend on the size of the pigment?
I think it partly does, yeah.
Because there's smaller pigments, right? It's kind of like why some are matte. Some are have some sheen to it because it's the pigment smaller.
I think that's what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
We're really proving our science credentials.
Yeah. Hell yeah. But
yeah, if none of us need that done, so don't ask to be our apprentice.
God, people probably wake up, people. We just made a little snooze fest there.
Yeah,
people are like, God damn, what are they talking about? Go back to the Conor McGregor stuff.
Yeah, go back to the whatever was interesting in this episode. I don't even know. A couple silly questions from Guess Who, Ozzy.
This is a silly free zone.
Why were 40 so good, but now they make my guts bubble at the mere sight of them? It's age.
Or a couple bad nights.
Yeah.
A couple too many 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I see 40s, I don't drink them anymore. I just reminisce.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, those are good days.
Yeah, exactly. Will Josh ever find something to care about, and will Sergio ever stop apologizing?
No and no.
Will they ever make a 40 ounce of a good beer? That's a good question, actually.
Do they? Like a 40 ounce or a malt liquor? I mean, they make Budweiser, so yeah, done. All right, next.
Yeah. I would say Ale Industries got to get on that where he works. So he works at a goddamn brewery. So
I went to this like tap house, and they had like a high end malt liquor.
Oh, really?
It was tough to drink. It was very malt liquor-y. I was like, oh, this is getting me drunk really fast. I can't remember what percentage it was, but it was.
Did it taste all right?
It was all right, but I don't know. I'll stick to the Mickeys.
Yeah. That's pretty much it as far as our. Well, Plague wants to know your Fader versus Sonnen thoughts. I have no opinion on that. UFC. Or is that even UFC?
No, that's Bellator.
Yeah.
It's going to be, wait, who is it again?
Fedor versus Sonnen. I don't even know if that's a fight happening.
Sonnen's going to win.
All right. Well, there you go.
Yeah, Fedor's old. He should quit. But he's got that Russian Bluebeard blood in him. So,
yeah.
You know, he's going to die in the ring or something when he's like 98. I don't know. It's not I don't care. It's weird how fighting nowadays is getting weirdly like political in a weird way, because there's like this like Putin called Khabib after the fight, to congratulate him. And then in the Derek Lewis fight, he said, "Oh, Donald Trump called me to say you better beat that Russian guy's ass." Or some shit like that. Yeah. Because the news.
Because of Putin and shit.
And then, they've got like Chael Sonnen and Fedor and Chael Sonnen's they're trying to make it like a Rocky feel. Like they had a picture of him wearing like the Apollo Creed like ridiculous USA outfit in like the promotions of it. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird how they're playing these like weird fight country versus country political angles, and like the politics are also kind of getting involved with it. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
It really is. Yeah,
it's and it's not like UFC and those things. They're like a pretty big sport, but they're nowhere near like the big boys. Like baseball and football and basketball and soccer and those really big sports worldwide or nationwide or whatever. But so it's weird how these random like the biggest politics are getting involved. Putin and Trump.
That is weird.
Bored as hell. They don't have more things to do running a country, I guess. But whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, if it was bigger, Derek Lewis would be a bigger star then.
Yeah. But what else? We got a new Supreme Court justice.
Oh, yeah.
So, yay! You forgot to scream yay with me.
What was it? Hashtag I'm with Brett.
Is that a thing?
Like joke thing.
Oh. Yeah. There's probably some people that are hashtagging it for real.
Yeah. And then Plague of Crows wanted to ask New York, Sergio, Yankees, yes or no? Of course. Yankees, bro. 28 rings, my guy.
I don't get this joke at all.
Don't worry about it.
Nice. I don't know if we have anything else to talk about. We have some time to kill.
Oh, really? What are we at?
Do you want a breakdance fight or something?
Yeah.
I do have those two paintings. We could I can get your critique on them.
Sure.
Almost back. So yeah,
now I'm back.
We have two paintings I did for a Ben Gallery show starting, I think, November 2nd, I want to say, or 3rd.
Okay.
I'll promote it more on my Instagram when it's closer, if you're in the Denver area.
Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, there's two small paintings. And then, so one's called Cleansed and the other one's called Tarnished.
Which is which?
I don't know. Can you guess?
Cleansed and Tarnished. I would say the one with the girl with the blue shirt is Tarnished.
That is correct.
All right.
And yeah, they're just two paintings I did.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So you're letting the pencil show a lot more in this one.
Yeah, I'm playing around with that. I think we even talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I did it, the first time I did it was in that Minna show. I was playing around with the pencils lines. And yeah, and then and I'm still kind of figuring it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, slow process. I'm not trying to go like too crazy off the bat, but I'm trying to get it in and see how I like it without ruining the painting. But yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of it almost looks like a veil across her face or across her forehead. Was that like what was that actually?
It's a scarf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a tricky picture to take because I don't know. I think we ended up with like MJ standing on a ladder holding it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I figure you might have had some assistance.
And then yeah, so we can pull that off.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is where you talk, Sergio.
Yeah, no, just take it. The painting's cool. I was just trying to look at the way the face was painted. Like, those lips are so good.
Hell yeah.
Is that where you spent Where did you spend the most time?
Let me see.
The mouth? Or?
No, I think the eyes, they were tricky because they were dark, and I was trying to squeeze in detail while keeping like the values right. And then, especially on like the left eye, the shadows were just tricky in that one in general, just because the reference, they were like so soft and so random because of the tassels that it made things like a little tricky, and I didn't know if I should just ignore them. So I put them in, and I don't know, I kept having to like pull them out and then soften them up, and I don't know, it was a lot of stuff. But yeah. But yeah, the two pieces, I didn't have too much of like a narrative. I just wanted to like play on like these two concepts of like, or these two like feelings. So like one being cleansed and one being tarnished. They're both being actions done to the person in a way. You know, they're both like an adjective that kind of makes you assume that it's done to them. You know, you're being cleansed by someone, you're being tarnished by someone. And so just trying to like just trying to like play with those feelings in a way, like not necessarily like thinking too hard on these pieces, just trying to pull out those two feelings of like something being tarnished or and then something feeling cleansed, and like I don't know, those two things kind of having the opposite narrative of like something being cleansed means that there was something unpure about it or something like that, right. And then vice versa with the something being tarnished is almost like something pure being damaged, and then just thinking about those two feelings or those two actions and the feeling that I would get from I don't know, just the feeling from those two words, I guess. Yeah. But yeah. Were they just two words that you thought about for a while and just wanted to do a painting of, or was it like like almost a challenge that was given to you? It was more like of a challenge. I just had two figures, and I felt like the one you're holding kind of like felt like a bride or like almost religious in a way. Yeah, it does have a religious feel to it. And like it's a ritual. Some ancient ritual almost happening. So the amount of pieces that I could do for show were like undetermined. And so when I figured I was going to do two pieces, it was pretty much I already knew the two figures I was going to do. So then I ended up just building what I wanted on top of like the two figures and having her look religious. And then kind of like the other thing of like the other person being more like, I don't know, like the model, she seemed more not innocent, but more like she has very young features. Like she, like she looks young, like a young person. I mean, they both look young, but she just has like young features about her. So I thought it would work good as like her feeling innocent in a way. And then being tarnished, and then since she looks religious, I thought I just try to think of a counter to cleansed is pretty much what it ended up being. Right. And then just trying to pull those two, like how I would think those two words feel, and just kind of right. So that even like with the cleanse, there's like a lot of pattern work in there, and then with the tarnished, it's all like there's no like sense of like control or like structure. It almost feels like everything there's things in it, but it's like there's a house with like a huge smoke, which like smoke is like random in general, and then there's these like little like I don't know half circle things coming across what feel like the thing, and it's just very like I don't know, a little chaotic, I guess. Like there's no order to it, there's no like polka dot line thing to it. And then there's like a little like kind of on her shirt there's like a thing of like kind of a sense of like that's an American flag logo. And just that was like an ad of like, well, America's kind of chaotic right now. Like it was like the only like pattern work in it is those 3 stripes, and those 3 stripes also represent chaos or unorder or like things not being in order or things like that. And then I also was just trying to play around with, I had this idea of playing around with like the horizon line and just putting one more line and then makes it a room.
Oh, okay. You know? Yeah.
And then just playing around with how that makes it feel is like that she's in a room rather than a horizon line. Because I've just been playing around with horizon lines a little bit recently. So
yeah, I didn't even get that it was a room, because I think just having that house there and the smoke coming out of it,
right?
You would just think that's the sky.
Yeah, so that's kind of like that was like another thing is like I knew I wanted it to be in a room, and I knew I had this idea of just adding a line to like adding an angle to the horizon line makes it a room, and then adding a house into it kind of, I don't know, plays with this idea of, I don't know, a room in a room. And,
okay.
But I don't know. But yeah, these pieces were less like structured to go into, and I had a lot of fun doing them and just figuring it out as I go along.
Did you prefer that to a more structured thing, or just felt like mixing it up?
Well, I just went into it without any like concept for these things. You know, it's tough to like, especially like small paintings, to like try to wrap a bunch of like meaning into things.
Sure, yeah.
So I went into it just being like, I know I'm going to do pretty like just 2 portraits. And then it's tricky to add narrative to portraits in general. Yeah. So I've been trying to play around with how to do that. So these were kind of like pieces I got to play around with, and like, I don't know, I feel like I'm pretty happy with how they ended up. Like they ended up helping like me working out some ideas of what I can do and what might work and what might not work and things like that. So I don't know. It was pretty fun. Yeah. It's always fun to like veer away from your regular process in general. Yeah. I think so.
That's true. Yeah. The interesting thing to me about this one is that she almost feels like she's in a foreign land, or like she's part of this ritual that's not native to her.
Yeah, I could see that. Almost like she's getting married to like a foreigner.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like the, cleansing ritual before the ceremony or something. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Huh. That's a cool, like, it's, even if it's not intentional at all, it's a neat thing to be able to read into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's cool having those two, like, just the words being the title, just kind of giving you that insight, but being so vague that you can literally just draw from it. I think for that, the cleanse one specifically, I feel like you'll be able to draw either like religious or like marriage like feelings from it. Yeah. Just in general. Even without the title probably, but the title may make you dive deeper if you're a title reader. One of those sickos.
Yeah. But yeah, cleanse is a good title for it for sure. It does have that feel to it.
Hell yeah.
I think you got that down.
Nailed it.
I guess the only nitpicks I would have are, I just wish some of the shapes of it were a little bit cleaner, like the way that.
Let me see.
Some of the, like, just little things. You can't hear me at all.
Yeah.
But just little things like the way some of the shapes end, they kind of overlap some of the lines. It's just
I don't know. See what you're.
Just little things in the like in the hand, the way this little bit of the brush stroke kind of overlaps over the line. I don't know. It might be you want it to keep it a little more rough, but my eye wants it to be cleaner. Just like little things like that I see in it. Yeah. Like you don't see it in the beginning, but then when you start to look at it, you're like,
take it back. Yeah. Take it back.
This podcast is over.
No, I mean, yeah, I definitely meant for the hands to be very loose. Okay. I just want almost all of the attention to be on the faces for the most part. Like I want your eye to like be pulled into the face as much. MJ, she also critiqued me on the hands, but I said I was gonna like go in and like retouch some things, and I was like, nah.
Yeah, I feel like this painting, the one that I'm looking at now,
the
tarnished.
Yeah.
More care was in the part of the where shapes meet, so I don't have that same critique about this one. But yeah, I really like the textures that you got in the background with the smoke and everything. Was that like scraping stuff down and repainting over,
or some parts, and then some part was like some cold wax.
Oh, okay, nice.
And
love that stuff.
I can't remember what else I did. All the techniques. I did all the techniques. Some glazing, some paintbrush on board. That's a technique I made up.
Yeah.
Some dipping
patent pending. Yeah.
Some dipping paintbrush into paint and then applying it to my painting. That technique. What other techniques did I use?
It sucks that you don't want an apprentice. You could really teach some people some
First you take the
techniques.
brush, then you put it in the paint, then you put it on the board, and then you got a painting. What else do you need to know? Now go out and teach others. Teach a man to fish, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it does have a little bit of that feel of like what we were saying about the wheat pasting kind of texture to it, of like the, what was her name again? Swoon? Yeah, has a little bit of that feel to it to me. The eyes are so well done too. I almost wish there was like a little bit more highlight. Like that highlight was a little stronger, but that's just me.
Oh, which highlight?
In her eye, though. I guess it'd be her left eye.
I was pretty happy with the eyes. I didn't want to fuck them up.
Yeah.
I like to not. I mean, let me see the highlight. I don't even remember. Like
it's
you want it to
subtle.
You want it to be stronger.
Just a tiny bit. Yeah.
Maybe I have to look at it again. I try to not make highlights too bright. I try to slowly build it up until I'm like, okay, I don't want to go too much brighter than this, unless the reference is very much like, oh, that white is white. Then I'm gonna just creep it forward as slowly as I can until I'm happy.
Yeah, it's very easy to overdo for sure.
And I'll set it in like whatever it is. Like I'll try to match that like highlight, and then I usually like will bring them up higher. I'll just go lighter and lighter from the actual reference until I'm happy. Oh,
okay, yeah.
But I don't know. I don't remember if I did that with that one. I'd have to look back at it.
But yeah, the face is super well painted. I really like how you did that.
I did it, guys.
I like the I like the flatness of the hair against it too. It's a good contrast. But that's something you do a lot, right?
Yeah.
Works really well.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of putting much depth to hair.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's at the same time some people do it and I'm like, ooh, that's beautiful.
I know.
Yeah. It's
really hard to do subtly.
Yeah.
It gets out of control really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that. It's that. I think the people that do it well are the people that are like trying to paint Sergeant Lee.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's like a weird, like, you have to be very like reckless in a controlled way to do it. And I don't really paint like that in general. So like the people that I feel like paint how I end up leaning towards, I don't really like their hair that much.
Oh.
But I mean, every once in a while someone does it amazing. There's a guy that does like some crazy fucking hair. It's like really, really rendered paintings. And I'm like, well, you're just showing off now, buddy. And then he'll like sand it away because he's like, not happy with it, not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, offensive. And his name is, I don't remember.
Everyone's got those artists in their feed that piss them off when they destroy their work.
I don't mind that. I'm like, good for you, man.
Yeah.
You got the balls to do it.
Yeah, I'm definitely more in that camp too. I just like seeing other people's reaction to people doing it.
People hate it. Or if you're like not happy with it, people, why? Yeah, people are weird.
Here's a very like only other painters would care about, but I love this little speck of blue in her hand.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely a mistake that I was like, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm keeping that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Because it ends up being, I was talking earlier about how I like the like accidental mark making stuff. That's kind of what it is. It ends up being is like, there's this weird like rub people leave on the world, right?
Yeah.
Like door handles and fucking everything. You can like, for instance, like my dog, he will leave like a slobber mark where he tries to push doors open,
Yeah.
And people will do that with like, they'll like kick the door, maybe like a certain door. They'll like, their foot will always touch a little, be like a random like darkening mark in the bottom left corner of a door.
Yeah.
And that to me, I'm like, oh God, like I really like, it's almost like a capture of it's like a long story of him repeatedly kicking the door over a long period of time. And it's like, it's capturing time in this weird way while leaving a human mark, which
weird implied history.
Yeah. And I love that. So yeah, but like that little blue mark is like, you wouldn't even be able to see in a picture. It's got to be like a thing you see in person probably. Yeah.
But yeah, it works well because it kind of reminds you of like, oh, her hand vein. That's got to be what it is or something,
But yeah, but those are my paintings. We critique the painting.
Well, they're obviously not done because you didn't sign them.
I did. I signed the back.
Oh, okay. I know. I was just
yeah. I usually sign their foreheads. Huh?
I make you funny you're not signing the front because I know you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't sign the front. So get used to it, pal. I don't know. Whatever. It's crazy. We already talked about this shit. I don't want to dive more into it. That's the issue. You know that guy who was like, oh, what do you guys like talking about? It's like, it ends up being like probably the same you can go pretty much anywhere in the art like realm of things and we can just dive deep into it. And then a month will pass and we can probably have the same exact conversation.
I know. I wonder if people get annoyed at that. Like people listening to...
Hey, if they're still listening.
Well, I guess not. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe just because we're still pretty early in it. But I wonder if we'll ever get to the point where like, oh, we talked about that already. Oh, we talked about that already too.
I don't know. It's whatever. I mean, for people that listen to podcasts, they know that happens. Like podcasts I listen to, they always are repeating their opinions and things.
Yeah,
and then
that's true.
It's like a slow, like a transition.
Yeah.
Like their opinion will change over time. So maybe something, and then maybe they'll get like refreshed on some thing they forgot about, and then they're back to like square one. Yeah,
something I appreciate in podcasts is when, even if it's the same opinion I've heard, but telling it to other guests who haven't heard it yet. Right. There's a new conversation that can be had out of that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's not our case today.
No.
We're having conversations that we had with guests without them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're super courageous. We're like, you remember what Obama said?
We didn't need to have a 4-hour podcast.
Remember we had that one guest and he said that? Man, fuck that. That'd be hilarious. All of our episodes without a guest, we're just like, remember last week when someone said this?
Yeah, maybe that will be our Patreon. Just talking shit about our guests.
But yeah, I don't know. Are you doing any figurative stuff right now, by the way?
I pretty much have it on hold right now, other than just doing little sketches here and there. Like I went to life drawing for the first time in like 2 months. What was it, Wednesday in Sebastopol. So that was fun because I also used colored pencil for the first time in a long time too. So
oh yeah, that looked like a fun model.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to go back to that. Hopefully after these paintings in Thailand, and then I'll be back. And I think I've not much planned after that.
Okay.
So I'll be cutting loose. Maybe have some time to go live doodle.
Yeah. Good time working that muscle.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a muscle I've barely worked out ever in my entire life.
Yeah.
I think it's like 5 times. I think I've been
Really? When you went the first time to basketball, was that like your first time ever doing that?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, in high school we did like a day or two of like charcoal drawing.
Oh, okay. But like from a live.
Yeah, like one of the students would stand up and we would all draw that person, and the next student would stand up and we'd draw that person.
Yeah.
It was like that.
Oh, all right.
So that was, I guess, my like second time.
Okay.
So I'm pretty much professional.
Yeah.
It's like MJ with backgrounds. It's gonna take some work for sure.
Yeah.
It's like I'll nail it sometimes. I'm like, damn, I did good on that one. The very next one, I'm like, well, pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Pretty horrible.
I just painting and drawing from life. I go through that all the time.
The what?
Going from like, oh, that was pretty good. Next drawing, oh, that was pretty horrible.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of it.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out like, I don't know, the best way for my setup. That's probably the biggest thing. That's because I'm just like sitting at a table looking up and down.
Yeah.
And I already know that's a horrible way of doing things.
That's why I almost always do it with the easel.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably what I got to end up doing. Easel it up so I can do quicker and better measurements of things.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it seems like most people there, they're not really concerned about getting things right.
Like who? What's his name?
I actually talked shit about a guy on my stories a long time ago.
He's like not even drawing. He's just like looking at the nude model. He's like,
Yeah, exactly.
What's your name? My name's John. Want to get something to eat after this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we've hit 2 hours.
All right.
Hell yeah. You look like you're fidgeting.
I'm like, what else is left to say?
I had a question we didn't bring up before the 2 hours. And have you ever looked into what David Cho does with David Cho money?
Somebody actually asked. I think that was an Aussie question.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, he did that art show recently that was like very secretive. Mm-hmm. And who was it? Who was on that? Went to that show? Was it Matt Ritchie? I think it was. It was somebody who actually went to one of his shows. Or no, it was Brett Crawford. He went to that David Cho show. Like it was a secret show that you had to like sign an NDA.
Oh, the David Cho show?
Yeah.
Oh, it was like an experience. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I figured he'd do stuff like that.
So he's wasting his money.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Whatever. He doesn't have to worry about painting anymore.
He really doesn't.
But actually he's done some cool things recently, I think. There was a couple of things I was like, oh, he's trying. Why? He has all the monies. On a side note, I hate when people say monies, but I use it as a joke.
Okay.
I used to have a youth pastor who used to say anytime he said money in the plural, he would go monies.
Oh, okay.
And my head would explode.
Trying to remember other things like that. That's kind of like the I can has it kind of thing.
I can has it?
Yeah. Like
people do that?
Like ironically using internet lingo. Like trying to sound cool by making fun of it at the same time.
I love that stuff. Like when I be all like, shit's hella thirsty.
Yeah, exactly.
Fleek.
Refer to any intro of mine.
Ratchet AF.
Yeah, exactly. Thirsty AF.
But God. Yeah, I don't know. I had something to say, but I forgot. Whatever. We're going to fizzle out.
Yeah.
We're fizzling.
As always. In our solo episodes.
Yeah. So, yeah. If you're still listening,
rate,
off.
Subscribe, review, and all that too.
Yeah. Yeah, do that too. Yeah. But then fuck off.
Yeah.
Right after that. Right. Rate, subscribe, review, tell a friend. then fuck off.
Still, Jeff, you fuck off too.
Yeah, Jeff.